Good evening. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting for the City of Sugar Land for Tuesday, October the 25th. A little bit about our agenda. In a minute, Stuart is going to lead us in prayer, followed by the pledge. Then we're going to have 3 recognitions. I'll come down off the dais, and then we'll bring people up for those recognitions, and then we'll get into the regular agenda. So with that, Stuart, I hope you're ready.
Please rise. As we gather here this evening to make decisions for our community, may we use only the best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is the best for our community and for our fellow citizens. In addition, please protect those who serve us every day while we sleep and while we work. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening. We've got 3 recognitions tonight. For the first, I'm going to ask Lisa Kosich-Meyer to come down. Lisa? And if you'd explain a little bit about what we're doing.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd also like to call up members of any members from our Planning and Zoning Commission that are here, our city staff, planners. Come on.
Don't be shy.
And also our neighborhood, the Hill Steering Committee members, if they could all join us up here, please. So what we have for you this evening is kind of a twofold item. First off, October is National Community Planning Month. And this is the first time I think that the city is taking the opportunity to recognize planning here at the city. And so overall, this is an opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of members that we have in our community that help to serve both on our Planning and Zoning Commission as well as other citizen planners. They contribute their time and expertise to improving our city. And so with us this evening, we have, 2 members from our Planning and Zoning Commission. We have Carl Stevens, who is our vice chair, and we have Jay Canine. And then we have members from our Hill Steering Committee, and this is a group of individuals that council has appointed to specifically work with the Hill neighborhood on a special project. And so we have Terry Nyrider, who is the chair. We have Mary Von Tunlin, Melissa Hoffman, Ruth Barrett, and Suzanne Sutherland. National Planning Month is also the opportunity to recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional planners to our city. As you may know, and as council knows, the city's planning processes provide the community many opportunities to be engaged in making plans for the future. And they help ensure that those plans are informed by the values of our citizens. Planners also have a really strong and invested interest in ensuring that people are engaged in the process. So we really encourage our citizens to be involved in the planning process. We also provide a range of technical expertise to ensure that development that happens here in our city really meets the high expectations that our citizens set, and also in the standards that City Council has adopted through our codes and so forth. So the other item that we're kind of adding on, and we're happy to really let you know, is that the city is once again being recognized with a Certificate of Achievement for Planning Excellence from our state chapter of the American Planning Association. Annually, the Texas APA recognizes Texas communities for outstanding contributions to planning. And it recognizes professional planning standards that are demonstrated by both staff as well as support that is exhibited by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council of Cities across the state. So this is the 6th year in a row that the city is getting recognized with this achievement, and
Congratulations.
thank you for, everybody should be congratulated, yes. So, we will receive the formal recognition at the state chapter conference that's happening next month in November. So also want to take the opportunity to obviously recognize staff. So starting here from my right, we have Abby Martinez, Ruth Lomer, Doug Schomburg, Kieran Baugh, Monique Johnson, Lauren Fair, Laura Waller, Myra Hernandez, and that's it. So we are all here excited about planning, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about planning.
No, thanks for that introduction, Lisa. We have a proclamation. National Community Planning Month, October of 2019, acknowledging the value of community planning in Sugar Land, which helps manage community changes in a way that provides better choices for how people live, work, and play, and recognizing the participation and dedication of the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the creation and improvement of the city of Sugar Land. And whereas recognizing the many valuable contributions made by professional city planners, as these planners work to improve the community by taking a comprehensive perspective, ensuring the community has many opportunities to be engaged in making plans for the future, and that plans are informed by the community values. And whereas the Texas chapter of the American Planning Association has awarded the 2019 Certificate of Achievement for Planning Excellence to the city of Sugar Land, congratulations. You know, and I remember I cut my teeth on the Planning and Zoning Commission, the comprehensive plan, the development code, and the zoning regs. I still remember the documents. I probably shouldn't. I still remember far too much detail for the documents that are there. Thanks to, our planning staff who provide us with extraordinary service. Thank you to the Planning and Zoning Commission members who take time out of, their busy schedules to serve on the commission. And thank you all for serving on special committees that will probably make changes to better the lives of those people that live in the Hill. So thank you all for doing what you do. If we could get everybody to kind of squeeze together and we can get council. We're big on pictures here. We don't do anything without a picture. A little bit. Come on, we can get 2 rows. We can get a row in front and a row in behind. Oh, come on now, Mary. Come on now. There we go. There we go. Now there we go.
All right, everyone looking up here, please. We're going to take 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Well, we were fighting with this plant over here. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, Rick. Our second recognition is for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And I'm going to ask Robert Bowman, our IT manager, to come down. Robert, I'm going to let you introduce it. I don't even know what cybersecurity is. You bet, Robert.
Hello, my name is Rob Bowman. I'm the IT manager. I work for the IT department here at the City of Sugar Land. Like the mayor said, first of all, what is cybersecurity? Well, that's a lot of data that we store on the citizens and the employees of the city here. And we take a comprehensive approach to instruct and educate the staff of the City of Sugar Land so that they keep in mind that we have to protect this data all the time. And it's not just when you're at work, it's also when you go home. And you have to be careful about the things that you click on and the things that you do. So some of the things that we do is we partner with the Homeland Security, we partner with the FBI, and multiple other agencies that give us this programs that we can land into the city so that we can instruct our employees on how they should handle themselves in the computers. But we go even further with that. So with the assistance of the mayor, the city council, and the E-team of the city, we're able to get much larger security projects, much larger security products, and land them here in the city so that we can also automatically protect the data that we have available to us. As we go forward with that, we've really built, since 2016, a much larger security infrastructure where we're protecting it from the inside as well as the outside. So sometimes our employees, they get these little emails inside their Outlook. They click on the link by mistake, and it says, oops, you've been phished. And that's just one of the things that we do to help the staff understand. Think before you click. Do you know this person that sent you this email? And if they're calling on the phone, ask lots of questions. So I want to thank you guys, the City Council, the Mayor, and the E-team, the staff, and the citizens of Sugar Land for giving us the ability to be able to do this for our organization. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Robert.
Appreciate it.
I can only speak for myself, but I feel sure that there's only one person on council that understands this stuff, and that's Steve Porter. And he came out of ExxonMobil on the IT side, so I can't speak for all the other council members, but I think when I look at them, we're all doing the same thing. Our eyes are getting X'd out. So thanks for what you're doing for protecting our citizens and our employees' personal data. Absolutely. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
And now it's my pleasure to ask Miss Jennifer Brown to come down. She's going to be recognized for the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the budget of 2019. And why don't you get your staff to come down, because this is how many years?
23 consecutive years.
23 consecutive years. Yeah, that's pretty extraordinary. Here, I'll let you introduce it, Jennifer.
So, Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada has a Distinguished Budget Awards program. It is the only budget recognition program in the United States and Canada. Of the 20,000 members of GFOA, there are about 1,500 entities that participate in this award. And this is the 23rd consecutive year that we've received this award. This is for the fiscal year 2019 budget, so the fiscal year that we just wrapped up. We will be submitting again for the fiscal year 2020 award. I have the budget staff. A lot of times I'm the one up here talking, and I'm not the only one doing the work. And so I do definitely want to recognize Rosita Bouchon, sorry, I can't talk today, Justin Mejorado, Adrian Miller, and Renee Clay. So this is our staff in the budget office, and they do all of the hard work to prepare the annual budget and the 5-year CIP. And this is a big part of why we're able to go out into the market and do things like we're doing today, and selling bonds, getting our AAA bond rating, and maintaining the second lowest tax rate in the state for cities our size. And so it's something that we do pride ourselves on, and have been told it's not even an option to not get it, so we will continue to do it. But we're proud to do this for the city.
Well, thanks for the leadership of the city manager and the executive team. We have, for those of you that don't know, we've got one of the most robust budget processes. We look at it. It gets built from the bottom up, goes through the department, the directors, on up through the assistant managers, through the city manager, and then it comes to council. And it gets scrubbed by a lot of people with a lot of different experiences. And I think that's what makes our process what it is that we all have a hand in it, and you guys certainly are the ones that coordinate that overall effort. So thank y'all. I'm going to let y'all hold this, because you're the ones that deserve the recognition. And then we're going to get a picture, so if we can get council. Here, let's all step back this way. There we go.
But don't cover up your pretty face.
Great, everybody get up here, please. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Congratulations, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Before we move on to item number 1, I see we have a couple scouts in the audience. If you all could stand and tell us your name, the badge you're working on, and what troop you're with.
I'm Shrey Satish. I'm from Troop 731, and I'm working on the Communications Merit Badge.
Okay.
I'm Shreya. I'm working on citizenship in the community, and I'm from Troop 1731.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Mark Huseman, and I'm working on the Communications Merit Badge, and I'm with Troop 1000.
And it wouldn't be right. We have in the audience tonight some special guests. We've got former Mayor Jimmy Thompson and his wife, the former First Lady, Gay Thompson. So, Jimmy and Gay, welcome. Item number 1, public comment. This is really designed for anybody that wants to comment on an agenda item that's not included as a public hearing. So at this time, anybody that has wants to comment on a particular agenda item is invited to come down front, just name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes. We'll waive the 10 persons. Anyone? Let's move on to item number 2, review the consent agenda. Item number 3, the consent agenda. All these items are going to be taken as one motion. Unless a council member pulls that item, we'll take the other items as one motion, then we'll return for a short presentation on that one item. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, motion to approve.
Got a motion by Gandhi, second by Kermali. Any questions? You vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 4, bonds, 4A. First and final consideration of an action on the City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2181. Ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of Sugar Land, Texas combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation, Series 2019A. Ms. Jennifer Brown, Director of Finance. Jennifer.
All right, so as I mentioned a moment ago, we were in the bond market this morning, so I will have several presentations. We have 3 different bond issues that we did today. But first, just to give a little background, as I mentioned in the recognition, we are often commended for our financial stewardship across the state and across the nation, and we are proud that we've been able to maintain that recognition, along with having the second lowest tax rate in the state for cities 60,000 or greater, which is a large portion of the state. And with that, we've been able to achieve the highest possible bond ratings, carrying a AAA bond rating for our tax-backed debt. And that financial stability and success allows our tax dollars to go further when we're borrowing or selling bonds, because it allows us to borrow at the lowest rates possible in the market. And just when we borrow bonds, we are only borrowing money to do projects. We don't ever borrow money to fund operating expenses. And so these are one-time expenditures that are approved in the budget when we're doing this. We issue bonds to fund these capital projects when they can't be reasonably funded with cash. And so generally they are large projects, and they're significant amounts of money, and they're assets that are going to be here in the city and be used, and residents will benefit for decades to come. We finance or we structure our bonds so that we have an aggressive repayment structure, and that allows us to achieve intergenerational equity so that today's residents are not paying the full cost of the construction and of those assets. They're being amortized over the useful life of the asset, and it matches the use of the asset to the payment schedule. And so that helps to balance that between today's residents and tomorrow's residents. For the certificates of obligation, we've been having discussion with the City Council throughout this year's budget process for fiscal year 20. We started with some workshops during the budget process. On August 20th, we held a public hearing, had a resolution for City Council to authorize the publication of a public notice that has to be run for the issuance of certificates of obligation. That notice was published on August 28th and September 4th. And on September 17th, you all approved the fiscal year 20 budget and CIP, which approved the funding for the projects that are in this particular issue. So this year, in the transition year, as we're going to the voters for general obligation bond election, in the spring retreat and during all the budget discussions, you all set a priority for the projects that are ready to move forward in construction and asked us to go ahead and issue certificates of obligation to fund these projects in fiscal year 20. And as you can see in the chart here, they are primarily drainage projects at 35%, along with street and traffic improvements and municipal improvements. And I've highlighted some key projects that will be constructed on the right side of the slide here. The biggest one is the Settlers Park drainage improvements that have been under design over the last year to 18 months, and will now be ready to move forward with construction and make the improvements in that area. We'll also have some major street reconstruction or rehabilitation to the tune of around $5 million that we funded from this certificate of obligation. And then we have our airport hangar that while it's in this issue, the Sugar Land Airport will repay the debt associated with that. As I mentioned, the bond ratings for this issue, we do have the AAA bond ratings by both Standard & Poor's and Fitch. We had them evaluate our credit, our bond ratings in September as part of the review for this issue, and they both affirmed that rating and cited our very strong financial management, strong financial policies and practices, and very strong budgetary flexibility in their assessment of our rating. And this AAA rating allows us to get the best possible interest rates. So we were in the market this morning over about a little over an hour period. This was the first sale at 10:30 this morning. We received 7 bids, and you have at your dais there 2 books from Hilltop Securities. The first says this Sugar Land, Texas on the side. This other book is for the Sugar Land 4B Corporation. So this book will show you the results from this sale. As I said, we've received 7 bids, and those bids range on a true interest cost basis, and these results can be found behind tab 2. They range from a 2.41, the bids was 2.417 to 2.57%, with the lowest bid coming from the Baker Group out of Oklahoma City, and they were at 2.417%. Also would like to, before we move into action, recognize our financial advisor and our bond counsel, Joe Morrow and Tom Sage and Audra Herrera from Andrews Kurth are here. And with that, staff would like to recommend approval of ordinance number 2181, authorizing the certificates of obligation series 2019A.
Ramesh.
Thank you, Mayor. When you use the term true net interest cost, is that essentially saying that it's net of all fees?
Yes. So everything that's built into the principal amount, so this one came out to $16.7 million, and that is inclusive of all costs associated with the bond issue, and amortized over the life of the bond. It works out to a 2.41% interest cost that we will bear as a city over the life of the bond.
Mayor, one follow-up, please.
Follow up.
On your, I think it's page 6, it talks about an underwriter's discount.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That's a normal part of the sale process, but I'm going to let Joe Morrow come up and explain that.
Thank you.
Explain it a little better than I can.
Thank you, Jennifer, Mayor, members of council. Joe Morrow with Hilltop Securities.
Joe.
The underwriter's discount is what the purchaser builds in for their compensation in expenses in buying and reselling the bonds. So that is representative of their fees.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by Gandhi. Do I have a second? I've got a second by McCutcheon. You'll vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Jennifer. And I think you've got item number B as well as C. So item number B, first and final consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance number 2180, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of Sugar Land, Texas General Obligation Refunding and Improvement Bonds, Series 2019A, authorizing the refunding of certain outstanding obligations and certain other procedures and provisions relating thereto. Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right, so as part of that financial responsible leadership, we monitor the bond market for savings opportunities. And so this issue that we're talking about here is both it's a new money issue, which will take care of the remaining 2013 voted bond authorization, as well as a refunding issue. So I'm going to walk through what a refunding is first, and then I'll talk about the new money piece. Like I said, when we do a bond issue, the AAA bond rating allows us to achieve the lowest possible interest rates at the time in the market. But as you're aware, market rates can change over time. Fortunately, we are at really low interest rates at this point, and so we've been monitoring the market for opportunities to save the city some money. And we do that through the issuance of refunding bonds. Refunding bonds are similar to refinancing your mortgage, where you take out a new mortgage at a lower interest rate, pay off your closing costs, and then it all gets bundled into the cost of the mortgage at a lower interest rate. It's very similar to a refunding bond. Bonds have a call provision that allow us to do that after a certain period of time. Usually it's about 10 years. And so after that date passes, then we have the right to redeem those bonds or refinance those at any time. And we do that by issuing new bonds at a lower interest rate and use the proceeds from that bond issue to pay off the old debt. The financial management policy statements provide guidelines for moving forward with refunding bonds, and it says that staff and the financial advisor will monitor the market for refunding opportunities. We strive to maintain the same maturity structure as the old debt, so we are not changing the maturity structure. We have a policy that says we will pay 50% of the principal within 10 years. We generally have about level principal payments, and so we maintain that when we do a refunding. The refunding guidelines say that the cost of the bond issue, similar to the true interest cost with the COs that we just did, the cost of the bond issue is factored into the analysis to determine the savings that are being generated. And we have a minimum net present value savings threshold of 3% of the refunded principal, and so that is a net present value basis in today's dollars. Our policy also say that unless there's some reason that says we should do a negotiated transaction, that we do a competitive sale process for all of our bonds. So we have 6 series of bonds that we were looking at refunding today. 5 of the 6 are from the MUDs that we annexed in December of 2017 from Greatwood and New Territory. And then we have a small piece left from the Series 2012, which is actually some old 2001 GO bonds that we sold. Total principal is $13.62 million. So we also in this issue have some new money, and that is the remaining $10.26 million from the voted authorization in 2013 for the park bonds. And the proceeds from that money will go to fund the First Colony Trail, Ditch Trail, and the remaining Phase 2 work for Brazos River Park. This issue also carries our AAA bond rating, and again, that allows us to receive the lowest interest rates that are available in the market. So if you'll look on the next page behind tab 3, you'll see the results from this bid. We also received 7 bids on this issue, and those bids range from 2.158% to 2.246%. The low bid was from Hutchinson, Shockey, Early and Company at 2.158%. And the net present value savings, which is the measure of how well we did on the refunding, is 6.736% of the refunded principal. Over the remaining term of those bonds, which is 7 years, the annual total debt service savings is $1.06 million, and that works out to about $150,000 a year over the next 7 years. So with that, Mayor, I would take any questions and recommend that council approve ordinance number 2180, authorizing the issuance of the General Obligation Improvement and Refunding Bond Series 2019A.
Thank you, Jennifer. Questions? Carol?
So is it correct to say that the bonds today are at a 20-year historic low on the rate?
Yes.
It looks, looking at this, y'all timed it, looks like you timed it really well today.
We
So
did
congratulations.
time it well.
I love debt savings.
So thank you for pointing that out. Behind tab 1 in your book, you'll see the bond buyer GO bond index, and that shows the interest rates for the GO bond index from 1999 to today. And as you can see, that today's rates are at historic lows. And so we were very fortunate in our timing of the bond sale. We had planned this months ago to do today, and it worked in our favor, and we were able to achieve some really good savings and get good rates.
We were opportunistic in our timing. Yeah, there's some design there.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second? Second. I've got a second by Jacobson. You vote at this time, please. And it's going to be a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Jennifer. Item number C, 4C, consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 1934, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, approving a resolution of the Sugar Land 4B Corporation authorizing the issuance of the Sugar Land 4B Corporation sales tax revenue refunding bond series 2019. Jennifer.
Okay. So our last bond issue today is the Sugar Land 4B Corporation. And just a little background for those who may not be familiar with what the 4B Corporation is, what it does. This is a sales tax, economic development sales tax corporation. The sales tax was approved by voters in 1995. It is a 1/4 cent out of the 2 cent property tax or sales tax. Sorry, the other bonds were property tax. This one is not property tax based. This is 1/4 out of 2 cents. I keep saying that. Sorry, tongue-tied. Sales tax bonds. The 4B Corporation has its own board. They met earlier this afternoon. The 4B has been able to really help the city over the last almost 25 years of its existence to fund some projects that we probably would have not been able to do had it not been for the 4B Corporation. They paid for a big part of the Sugar Land Conference Center at Town Square. They paid for the Imperial Park softball fields. They funded Constellation Field, and they also funded a portion of the Texas Garage here in Town Square. All of these were funded through the issuance of sales tax revenue bonds, and the bonds that we're refunding today were utilized to fund these projects. The 4B supports our healthy economy in Sugar Land by encouraging successful business growth and providing more opportunities for employers to locate their business in Sugar Land, while also supporting higher quality of life for our residents. Our aggressive economic development program helps to grow our commercial property tax revenues with the goal of benefiting residents through investment of these restricted revenues in quality of life amenities that ultimately support the city's ability to maintain one of the lowest tax rates in the state for similarly sized cities. This corporation carries its own bond rating because it is a separate revenue stream that is pledged for these bonds. Standard & Poor's has it rated at an A+. Moody's has it as a AA3. We had the ratings reviewed as part of this issuance, and both agencies affirmed the rating that they had already assigned. And over the last 25 years, the corporation's ability to finance these projects has really been a huge benefit to our community. So similar to the GO refunding bonds, we also monitor refunding opportunities for the 4B Corporation, and it functions in exactly the same way. We're issuing new bonds, the old bonds will go away, and all the costs of the bond issue are factored in to the cost associated with the refunding, and we net that out for the savings results. Same threshold, 3% net present value savings. We also did this as a competitive bid. We held a workshop with the Sugar Land 4B Corporation since they have not issued bonds in some time. The last issue was in 2011 when we funded Constellation Fields. So we had a whole new board that hadn't been exposed to 4B sales tax revenue bonds. So we did a workshop with them in September. We also have reviewed this over the last couple of months with the Council Finance Audit Committee, which I believe encompasses 5 or 6 of you that are on council now. So we've had a lot of discussion with both the board and the city council on these opportunities, and we're given the go-ahead to pursue this. This refunding issue will refund $26.23 million of the outstanding debt for the corporation. You can see there that their interest rates are a little higher than what you saw on the general obligation bond side, and that is because it's a different revenue stream that's being pledged for repayment. With it being sales tax, it's a little bit riskier, and so they generally carry a little bit higher interest rates. But this will totally refund from the 2021 to 2036 maturities of the 2011 bonds, which are the most recent issue that we've done. And in your other book that you have on the dais is the results from the 4B issue. And for this issue, we received 4 bids, and those bids range, the results are behind tab 2 of that book. The bids range from 2.428 to 2.626%. The low bid was from Citigroup Global Markets at 2.428%. The net present value savings on this issue was 16.906%. And over the remaining maturities of this bond, which is till 2036, so about 17 years, we will realize $5.4 million in annual debt service payment savings. So that annualizes out to about $319,000 per year for the next 17 years. So that is some significant savings for the 4B Corporation. As I said, their board approved the issue earlier this evening by Resolution 2019-1008. Because it is a 4B corporation, in their bylaws, it requires city council approval for issuance of any bonds. And so we are asking this evening for you to approve Resolution 1934, which will authorize this refunding issue to move forward. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Just speaking for the 4B Corporation, we enthusiastically recommend this to City Council. This is quite an amazing result. I've never seen NPV like this. It's quite an opportunity. Great job, everybody involved. So I'll move to approve.
Got a motion by Porter. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Kermally. You vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Jennifer. Item number 5, donations. 5A, receipt of Sugarland Legacy Foundation 2018 annual report and acceptance of a donation not to exceed $102,065 for the T.E. Hartmann Center Health and Exercise Improvements and Phase 1 of the Eagle Project at Sugarland Memorial Park. And before I turn it over to Daphne, a little bit about this. I'm going to start with, the Kramers. It was some time ago I received a call from Dr. Antoinette Kramer and her husband, Dr. Alan Kramer, and they used the T.E. Hartmann Center and were very insistent on making a donation. And we've been able to work with them over time to make sure that donation actually is consistent with their wishes. We've said often, what makes Sugarland different is the people of Sugarland. And this is certainly, a great example of that. So to both Doctors Kramer, thank you all very much thank you for being great citizens in Sugarland, and thanks for giving back to the city of Sugarland. The second part of this is former Mayor Jimmy Thompson. And Jimmy came to us and said he had a concept of an Eagle Project to honor veterans. Jimmy is an Air Force vet, flew C-130s during Vietnam, and there was a start of a memorial project done by Gene Reed, E.E. Reed, through the Legacy Foundation. And this is more or less, this is really a continuation of a way to honor those vets. It involves an eagle as a sculpture, a bronze eagle, at the top of a hill. Jimmy not only stepped forward with a concept, but he stepped forward with a major contribution to fund it. And then he shamed council members into becoming part of that, as only Jimmy could do. He got everybody behind it, including the Indo-American Forum of Fort Bend County. So again, Jimmy Gay, thank you all. Thank you all for kind of leading the way. You led the way for 8 years as mayor, 9 years as a council member. He continues to be involved, which is, again, what makes the city of Sugarland what it is today. Now I'm going to introduce to you Ms. Daphne McKinney, who's the assistant to the city manager, Sonny Sharma, who is the president of the Sugarland Legacy Foundation, and Joe Cheshire, the director of Parks and Rec, and Ryan Doss, management assistant 1. Daphne.
I just brought a few people with me today. So good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be before you as the city liaison for the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. I'm here, as Mayor said, with Mr. Sonny Sharma. He's the president of the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. He's going to be delivering to you the 2018 annual report, as well as previewing, reviewing work that we've done here in 2019. And later, of course, you'll hear from Joe Chesser on the Kramer donation, as well as Ryan Doss, one of our management assistants, who's going to be talking to you about the Eagle Project. So before I get into the list of board of directors, I just want to note that the Legacy Foundation annual report is a requirement in their bylaws. It is required to cover the financial condition and activities of the foundation, as well as previewing next steps. So if you take a look at your screen, we have a list of our board members, and you'll notice one new name this year on that list of board members, and that's Ms. Dee Cook. She was appointed earlier this year, 2019, I believe in January, to the board. And in addition to Ms. Cook, we have a board president, again, Mr. Sunny Sharma. Dr. Betty Baitland is our secretary, Brent Leftwich, the treasurer, and other board members, Paul Likery, Jean Reed, John Null, and Patty Godfrey. And you'll see at the bottom of that screen, I have a plus sign with new members because later in your agenda tonight, the expansion of the board, we are hoping for your approval for Mr. Gary Becker to be added to the board, as well as Animal Advisory Board member Susan Chapman. So you'll see that later tonight. Earlier this year, we did have a prominent board member step down, Mr. Bob Brown, and the board is very grateful for his years of service to the board and the community. I did want to recognize that this evening. And I do lastly just want to thank all of our board members for their continued volunteer service. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sharma to begin the 2018 annual report.
Thank you, Daphne. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members, and the citizens of Sugar Land. You know, Legacy Foundation has been a great accomplishment that generated from this city council, and we're very proud to present to you our annual report. As you can see, the Legacy Foundation's mission is to invest into the facilities and activities that enhances long-term prosperity and quality of life, in addition to having people to leave a legacy behind. It was established in 2010, and seed funding and staff liaison was provided by City Hall and continues to be so. And the foundation mainly assists with the donations and the quality of life enhancements. I'm really proud to talk about what Legacy Foundation has contributed to this to date. We're approaching close to $1 million in terms of various projects and the work that has been done in our city. Open the Door Art is one that's done in the park. The brick paver, the Eldridge Park Trail improvements, lagoon structures that you see all over the city are installed in Oyster Creek Park, Eldridge Park, Memorial Park, Highlands Park, Town Square. And these beautiful sculptures, I recall one time when we had the selfie installed, there were a lot of issues, and now people love it. Everybody's taking a picture with the selfie. In addition to that, we have beautified the Memorial Park with welcome home statues and a Veterans Memorial Plaza that was done by the help of one of our board members who did a great job, not only orchestrating it, but also helping us with that project. We also have a project that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. In addition to that, we had a flag that's called Honor and Remember, to honor the veterans and people who lost their life to protect our freedom that we so beautifully enjoy today. We also built a skate ramp, and one of the major success was universally accessible playground. A lot of children who have a problem who don't know where to go when they have some issues with their health. Now we have a place where children can play together, including their wheelchairs, accessibility. Let me briefly share with you the financial condition of the foundation. We're very excited about the very generous donation for the senior health and exercise equipment, which you will hear, and you heard a little bit from Daphne, and a little bit more in more detail. This was the only revenue, the amount of $57,064.80 that we received in the year 2018. We still have some bricks that are not named, so we did not receive any brick paver money, and none of them were sold in the year 2018. Our 2018 operating budget was very, very conservative. We had basic operating expenses of only $654, and operating fund balance stays at $4,808 today. This amount represents the remaining funds from the original $10,000 seed money the city provided to us. Going forward into 2019, even though 2018 was kind of slow, but I think 2019 is going to be a very active year as we finish this year. As Daphne mentioned earlier, we're so proud to have Dee Cook on our board. I think she's going to be an excellent addition to the board. We're also recommending to you to approve tonight 2 new members to the board, Gary Becker and Susan Chapman. We have also been considering about adding some more board members, and we're exploring those ideas, and we'll bring it to your attention at a later date. The Legacy Foundation is focusing on building awareness and making connections to the Sugar Land business community. We will continue a partnership with the city's Economic Development Department with the 2019 Leadership and Legacy Luncheon Award, which is scheduled next month. The Legacy Foundation is proud to work with the city on this business recognition event and looks forward to recognizing those who have made a lasting impact on the Sugar Land community through the Legacy Award. The foundation is also developing other opportunities to build awareness by speaking to area organizations such as Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Clubs, Exchange Clubs, the Greater Fort Bend EDC, and other such organizations. In addition, we will continue to offer community leadership by partnering with nonprofit organizations. We will continue to vet and accept donations on behalf of the City of Sugar Land, and we continue to work on active projects like further commemoration of Memorial Park. We just recently honored one of our board members, Herb Apple. Those of you who are present, it was very touchy and a very rewarding moment, and I really applaud the city for giving us that location. I think that's a beautiful place, and we continue to grow during that lane in that area. Also, there are so many other projects, including TIRZ number 4, Plaza, and the Heritage Museum that we're also going to be working on. With that, I'd like to thank each one of you and the staff of City of Sugar Land to continue to support, and we look forward to working with you. I'll be right here for you if you have any questions, and then we will have the other opportunities that other people will be presenting to you.
Thanks, son.
Thank you.
We're now going to bring Joe Chester up, Director of Parks and Recreation, to talk about the Hartmann Center improvements.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Last fall, a married couple that happened to both be doctors and members of our T.E. Hartmann Senior Center approached the city with a really great idea to kind of help benefit the fitness and exercise of the seniors that are participating in the program at T.E. Hartmann Center. Not only did they come to the city with a great idea, even better, they came with the idea that they would be happy to fund this idea there at the Senior Center. So, we're very happy to say that we're ready to move forward with this project, and I wanted to go ahead and just recognize the Kramers one more time, because it's really truly unique. This is the first stock donation that the Legacy Foundation has received, so we kind of learned something new with that. And with that, I wanted to go ahead and introduce Dr. Alan Kramer again, and you want to send Dr. Kramer? It's Dr. Alan Kramer and Dr. Antoinette Repepe Kramer. Antoinette was a cardiac surgeon for many years, and then also Alan was a plastic and reconstructive surgeon. So they've been very active in the medical field for many years. They're 48-year residents of the city of Sugar Land, so they've enjoyed many years of living here, and they've been married for 51 years. So again, want to really recognize them and thank them for their donation. So with that, the donation is for improvements to the T.E. Hartmann Center, specifically for exercise equipment. We'd be retrofitting an area within the center and adding the equipment. The donation amount was $57,064. And then we've worked together in looking at various exercise machines that we think would be beneficial, but also safe and fitting with the seniors that are there at the center, and some equipment that they could use easily and would benefit their fitness and just overall health. We worked together closely with the Kramers to look at various options within the building and came up with a location that we think really fits well. We can put the equipment in, we'll monitor it. We're going to add a camera to that room to help monitor. We have a camera system throughout the T.E. Hartmann Center where our staff can monitor what goes on in the building. We've talked about the kind of the safety elements of equipment. I mean, sometimes treadmills can be, if anybody's jumped on one sometime when they're already moving, you can know that they can be kind of dangerous. But we've got plans to train people on that and have some warning signs there here posted by the equipment. And then the other equipment that we've also are showing is not as probably as kind of potentially getting on and off it like a treadmill, easier equipment to get on and off, such as basically like a stair stepper equipment, and then a couple of items that are seated like bicycles, and they're kind of a seated stepper and a seated bicycle. And so you can get a pretty good overall workout for the various elements there. Should find a piece of equipment that most everybody could find comfortable and beneficial to work with. So right now we've worked with the city's facilities group to take quotes on the renovation of the room that we're looking at. We've got quotes on the equipment. We'll also be adding, like I mentioned, cameras and some TV monitors in the room just to, so you can watch something while you're on the equipment. And then we're still proposing that we'd probably have a little bit of a balance there. And our staff and the Kramers have been talking about some other things that we might be able to incorporate in to the seniors program there at the T.E. Hartmann Center once these elements are all in place. So we hope to be moving forward very quickly with getting these improvements in place for the seniors to use. And with that, I will hand it back over to Daphne.
Thanks, Joe. So I'm very excited to bring up one of my team members, Ryan Doss. It's his first council presentation. Ryan Doss hails from Allen, Texas. He has his MPA from UNT. He's been with us for about 4.5 months. So again, I'm very excited. He's going to be talking to you about phase 1 of the Eagle project.
Thank you, Daphne. And good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Mayor, you kind of took a little bit of my thunder away, but hopefully I'll give you all some more details. I have the pleasure of speaking to you all tonight about the acceptance of donations for phase 1 of the Eagle project to be located at Sugar Land Memorial Park. Now, phase 1 will be a bronze eagle sculpture, and it is a continuation of the commemoration for our U.S. veterans. To start off with the background on the project, so back in 2009, City Council established a Blue Ribbon Task Force which proposed the development of 4 commemoration projects for Memorial Park. To date, 2 of the 4 commemoration projects have been completed. The first is the city's installation of the flags honoring each branch of the military, and the second, which was spearheaded by the Legacy Foundation, saw the construction of the Veterans Memorial and Remembrance Tower. Since then, City Council has asked the Legacy Foundation to oversee the completion of the remaining projects. Here's just a quick visualization of the completed projects. On the left side of the screen, you see the Memorial and Remembrance Tower. In the middle is the flags for each branch of the military. And then on the right is the Honor and Remembrance Flag Site, which is part of the Legacy Foundation's Brick Paver program. So the project we're bringing forward tonight, phase 1 of the Eagle project, will consist of the bronze eagle sculpture and base depicted in the design concept on the upper part of the screen. The sculpture will be a 7-foot-tall bronze eagle with open wings on a concrete base. Now that base will be, the shape of the base will be reminiscent of the shape of the Remembrance Tower. And the location for this is going to be on the hill just east of the tower in Memorial with the existing walking trail separating the two. Now, on the lower part of the screen, we have a little preview for phase 2 of the Eagle project, which will see an alteration of the existing topography of that hill, and in order to develop a plaza that will be in front of the Eagle sculpture. This proposed plaza may include concrete blocks, landscaping enhancements, as well as seat walls similar to those seen at the plaza near the Smart Financial Center. Now, here's another concept image for phase 2 of the project. However, this gives a better idea of where the sculpture will be installed at. So both images, they show the viewpoint of from the bridge to the Remembrance Tower. And so the tower is behind the photographer, I guess you could say, as they face the hill where the sculpture and eventual plaza will be. So as you can see in the before picture, that is the existing topography and current condition of the hill, and with after concepts showing the different various plaza elements as well as the sculpture facing the memorial and Remembrance Tower. So this is the image that we submitted to the sculptor for inspiration. This design was reviewed with the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation Board as well as the Parks Board. The commission of the sculpture is already in progress and is expected to be completed by the end of this year. As you can see, the bronze eagle's wings are open and up, and it will depict the eagle landing on a type of branch, which will also be a part of the sculpture. So funding for phase 1 of the project will cover the commission and installation of the sculpture. The Legacy Foundation currently has cash in hand or has committed $35,044. However, this number does continue to rise even as of today. And because of this, and due to the Foundation's continued pursuit of including the optional components, as you see on the screen, we are requesting that council accept donations in an amount up to $45,000. In addition to that, the Foundation is also currently accepting in-kind donations to support the project. Now, before I move on to my final slide, I would like to reiterate some of our principal donors and recognize them for their generous contributions. The first will be former Mayor Thompson, if you would please stand. His leadership in this project is why we're here today. He rallied some of you to contribute, and his just leadership and vision has really moved this project forward. In addition, the Legacy Foundation has also received a very generous contribution from the Indo-American Forum of Fort Bend. They have made their donation in honor of the late Sonal Butcher, who was a longtime Sugar Land volunteer and Fort Bend ISD trustee. So on behalf of the forum, we have the Indo-American Forum President, Mr. Patel, here tonight as well. And other representatives of the forum as well. And so we thank you all for your contributions. And to wrap it up, here's our project timeline for the sculpture. It will be completed by the end of this calendar year with its installation and unveiling to occur in early 2020. And so with that, I will once again give it back to Daphne.
Ryan, what you don't know about the former mayor is he's big on schedule. So he'll be riding you pretty hard to make sure that schedule. You put that schedule out there. Uh-oh.
Very familiar. Thank you. So with that, staff does recommend your consideration and action on the acceptance of donations from the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation not to exceed $102,065 for T.E. Hartmann Center Health and Exercise Improvements and for Sugar Land Memorial Park, Phase 1 of the Eagle Project. And with that, we are happy to answer any questions. I have, of course, Mr. Sharma here with me.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. If you don't mind, I've got a few comments and questions. Number one, Mr. Sharma, your job is unpaid. You do this completely voluntary, and the amount of time and the seriousness that you take this position is very exemplary, and thank you so much for everything you do for us. My question to you is there anything that you need from the City Council to help support you and your group?
Well,
we really are quite appreciative of what you have done so far. And having a mayor who actually started this whole Sugarland Legacy Foundation to come forward and come up with this great project only tells us that we have a lot more challenges in the future. Just like we just heard Apple's statue that we did. It would be nice to honor those who have done so much for our city, and we look forward to having your recommendations as well, so that we can honor those businesses and those people who truly have left a legacy behind, and that's the purpose for all of us on the board. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity and all the support that you provided to all these people who are providing all this information, so I don't have to stand right here and read every one of them. So thank you.
Mayor, one follow-up.
Go ahead, follow-up.
During the presentation, there was a reference that the Indo-American Forum's donation was made in the name of Sonal Butcher. And I'd like to recognize her husband who's sitting in the audience. And there couldn't have been a better person to honor in this small way. So appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve. Second. Got a motion, I'll get a second. If you'll vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council members.
Sonny, thank you. Dr. Allen, Antoinette, Kramer, thank you. Jimmy, you and Gay, thank y'all. Item number 6, the Hill Community Engagement Strategic Project. 6A, receipt of and discussion on a report of Phase 1 of the Hill Community Engagement Strategic Project and review of the discussion on Phase 2 of the Hill Community Engagement Strategic Project. We've got with us Abby Martinez, Planner 2, and Terry Nyrider, the Hill Steering Committee Chair. Terry, Abby.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. I'm very excited to be in front of you tonight to present a year's worth of work. And so I'd like to take some time to recognize the Hill Neighborhood Steering Committee, which is here with us tonight. I'm going to be presenting them later in the presentation. And I think we also have some members of the Hill neighborhood here in the audience tonight. So thank you all for coming and taking the time to be here. So tonight I'll be covering the background and the project overview, just telling you a little bit about how this project started. And then Terry will be joining me for part of the presentation to present on the committee's vision and recommendations. And then she'll turn it over back to me to present on the proposal for Phase 2 approach and then next steps. So for a little bit of background, the Hill is an original company town neighborhood, which used to be housing to those employed by the sugar factory, and some of those original homes still exist today. In the mid-1990s, there was a neighborhood effort, a city effort, to have additional city regulations to protect the character. During that time, residents of the neighborhood opposed any additional city regulations, but more recently we've heard concerns that were brought forward to City Council about the spike in demolitions in the area. We also heard resident feedback through the land use plan process that directed us to engage with the neighborhood on this topic. Just to familiarize yourself with the area, the Hill neighborhood is on north side of the city, north side of 90A, and east of the sugar factory. And so the study area for this project was the boundaries shown on the map here. The area is not platted except for the area east of Wood Street and south of Lakeview Drive, which is known as Cleveland Lake. There is no known deed restrictions or HOA. And there are 2 zoning districts. There is the Hill Residential Zoning District, which is comprised of this area here and south here. And there's also the R1 zoning district, which is the standard single-family residential zoning district on this north side here. And there's a mix of housing styles. So the project really kicked off with the appointment of the Hill Neighborhood Steering Committee, which is guiding this process. They're charged with gathering input and drafting a vision and recommendations for your consideration. The committee is made up of 4 resident owners and 1 non-resident property owner. And so when I call your name, please stand. We have here with us tonight Terry Nyrider, who is the chair of the committee. We also have Ruth Barrett, Melissa Hartmann, Suzanne Sutherland, and Mary Van Tunglen. So they've been working really hard throughout this past year, and so we are presenting tonight the culmination of all their effort. So when we started this project, we weren't really sure how widespread the concern was in the neighborhood, and so staff decided to approach this in phases. We really wanted to make a determination on whether the community wanted the city to do anything in regards to protecting the character. So we wanted to go through the public engagement phase first, and phase 2 would only move forward if it was recommended. So the purpose of this first phase was to engage residents and property owners on a vision for the Hill and evaluate whether additional development standards or other tools are desired in order to maintain the character of the neighborhood. So we had a series of public engagement efforts. We started back in November of 2018 with 3 neighborhood listening sessions. There were small group meetings to gather initial input from the community. Then we had our first public meeting in December of 2018, again, to start gathering initial input. And then we used that input to draft a survey with more detailed questions as to if it was important to the community to maintain the character, explain the current zoning districts and the zoning regulations in the area, and what the city could do to modify them. So the committee took the results from the survey and the public feedback and drafted their vision and recommendations, and we presented that to the community at a second public meeting in July of this year. And so they were able to provide feedback on the vision and recommendations through a feedback form, and so the committee went back and revised accordingly. Just some general public takeaways from the public engagement efforts. The Hill community thinks that new houses and additions should be in character with the neighborhood. They're concerned about the size and scale of new homes. They do not want a homeowners association or excessive regulation. And from the surveys, we heard that 77 of those who responded to the survey are in favor of development regulations and incentives to maintain the character. From the feedback form, we heard that 92% are in favor of the committee's vision and moving forward with a phase 2. And so the committee has been working, like I said, very hard throughout this past year. They met 13 times throughout phase 1, where they reviewed every single comment, public feedback from all the engagement efforts. They analyzed the survey results and made a determination that maintaining the character of the Hill neighborhood is important to the community. And so they've drafted a vision statement and recommendations based on the feedback received, and then again, like I mentioned, they revised accordingly after we presented that to the community in public meeting 2. And so at this time, I'd like to invite Terry Nyrider to speak on the committee's behalf on the vision statement and recommendations.
She's got to help me because I don't think I can speak and push buttons at the same time. Thank you, Abby. It's been such a pleasure to work with my fellow committee members, and I speak for all of us when I express my gratitude to the city for allowing us to participate in a project that's personal to us. Thank you. Phase 1 provided abundant opportunity for us to interact with Hill residents. We listened to people who've lived here since the beginning, and those who are new with young families, and everyone in between. Their hopes and concerns inspired our vision statement, which we believe finds common ground for everyone who is concerned about future development. Our vision statement reads as follows. The Hill neighborhood, with homes dating from the early 1900s, has a unique identity. Front porches and sidewalks shaded by mature trees evoke the small town charm of the original company town. The design of the homes and walkability encourage neighbors to interact, distinct in a city of master planned communities. The vision of the Hill community is to recognize and protect the character of the neighborhood while allowing homes to adapt to modern day needs. Through the various public input opportunities, several concerns rose to the top. Based on feedback from the community is proposing the following recommendations for implementation in Phase 2. Zoning district boundaries. Even though the styles of the homes vary, the majority of responders felt that all of the highlighted areas shown on the map should be considered the Hill. The shaded area on the north side of Lakeview is zoned R1, while the remainder of the neighborhood is HR1. The committee recommends that the R1 zoning be modified to HR1. Front yard setbacks. Porches are an intrinsic part of the charm within the Hill, but in some cases, current setback regulations can prohibit the addition of porches. We'd like to grant homeowners the opportunity to add porches and include them in their home designs. Garages. As redevelopment has occurred, the size and placement of garages has become a concern to the Hill community. The committee recommends that staff revise the regulations for garages. Lot coverage, building height, and character style. These three elements of construction are critically important to the appearance of a home and how it fits into the neighborhood. There are ways to marry utility and style. We would like to explore the best way to do so. As mentioned in the vision statement, there are design elements such as the mature trees and front porches that many residents agree contribute to what we call the character of the Hill. You see on this list other items that the community and the committee feel are important, and we would like to explore the possibility of their being incorporated into zoning regulations. New programs and incentives. As an alternative or additional tool to help preserve the Hill, we surveyed property owners on this topic. It was suggested that incentive programs could be useful, and we would like to research developed historic communities for programs. Thank you. Abby will continue with the remainder of our presentation.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks. Thank you, Terry. Yes, so as Terry mentioned, she did a great job going over the vision and recommendations. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about a proposal for phase 2. So staff is thinking of taking a staggered approach. There's a concern in the community about the rapid pace of teardowns and redevelopment, and so staff is aware of that. And so we are proposing taking a staggered approach. We've heard very clear direction on some items during phase 1, which was modifying the zoning district and revising development regulations for garages and front yard setbacks. These are items that we currently regulate in the development code, and so we think that tackling these first and moving forward with that would be best. We would have a community engagement opportunity for the Hill neighborhood, and then we would go forward with the adoption process with Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And then the other component to this is more of the character regulations, design regulations. This would take a little bit more time for staff to develop. And this is not something that we currently regulate. And so, again, it would take a little bit more time for staff to put together a proposal. This would also be the part where we would research on incentives. And so we would engage the Hill community throughout that process as well. And then we would, once those are drafted and revisions are made as necessary, we would begin the adoption process with Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And so those two items would be kind of happening at the same time, but with first focusing on the zoning district modification and garages and front yard setbacks. And so before we're able to start with phase 2, we've heard from one of our steering committee members that she's not able to serve in phase 2, and so, but she is happy to be a resource to the committee and provide input along the way. And so staff is proposing that she be included in this Hill steering committee as an ex officio member. That would mean that she would still provide input, just wouldn't be a non-voting member of the committee. And so we do have a vacancy, and so we went to the Economic Development Subcommittee, Council Subcommittee, with a list of applicants, and so they helped us narrow down the list, and we contacted a few. And so Staff is recommending that that City Council take into consideration appointing Mr. Ike Wilson Harper. He is a longtime resident owner of the Hill and has been very involved in the project since its start, and we think that he would be a great asset to the committee. And so tonight, we're seeking City Council direction on the committee's vision and recommendations, including moving forward into Phase 2, the steering committee vacancy, and the addition of an ex officio member, and a Phase 2 approach. And so for next steps, with your concurrence, we would come back to you at a November 5th meeting where City Council would take action on reinstating the steering committee via a resolution. And at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions.
So, Abby, the formal addition of the new member would be at this later meeting, correct?
Yes, and so I presented the staff's recommendation for the nominee tonight for your discussion.
Right. Okay. So, is questions of council, Steve?
No, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the steering committee as well. One of the things that makes our city great, as we've said, are our citizens and people that care and actually step up to do something is valuable. So thank you very much. Thanks, staff. I will tell you that District 1 has many interesting neighborhoods, and I'm already getting questions from other neighborhoods about, hey, can we get in this process? So I hope you can run a 1 and 2 at the same time.
I would recommend that we conclude the Hill project first and then move forward with the others.
Himesh.
Mayor, I think obviously I'm very supportive of this. I think there's been a lot of work done on this. Typically, when a concept like this would come forward, we would spend a great deal of time having the public weigh in on it. We've already completed that part. So my comment to staff and to Alan and to you, the mayor, would be if we can expedite this process and move these resolutions and ordinance in some fast track form, because development can take place very, very quickly, and it can happen, it almost feels overnight. So rather not let the red tape get in the way of moving this forward. So if there's a way we can try to find a way of kind of getting it through, I think it'd be valuable to the process. Thank you.
Yes, Alan.
Abby?
Yes.
You're ready to move forward with the first part of Phase 2?
Staff would still need to draft the regulations.
I understand. You got work to do.
Yes.
But you've got a lot of the work defined.
Yes, we have very clear direction.
So you're going to be ready to move forward quickly?
Yes.
Good answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the feeling of city council is sooner rather than later, Abby. So.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Terry, and the committee. Item number 7, contracts and agreements. 7A, consideration of an action on authorizing the execution of a change order number 2 for the construction contract with WadeCon LLC in the amount of $529,516 for additional drainage improvements and pavement replacement of the Covington Woods drainage improvements at Sugar Mill Relief Line and 7th Street Reconstruction CIP DR 1801, funded by the Major Street Rehabilitation CIP ST 2002. We have Mr. Jorge Alba, our Senior Engineering Manager. Jorge.
Very long title. I hope I'll be shorter than that.
I'll talk faster than you can.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Before I start my presentation tonight, let me give you a little bit of a background on this agenda item. Back on June this year, 2019, City Council approved a construction contract with WadeCon LLC for the construction of, the long title, Covington Woods Drainage Improvement at Sugar Mill Relief Line and 7th Street Reconstruction. So the approved contract included, and I'm going to refer to the map here, basically all the drainage improvements. We included the outfall along the city park and drainage improvements along 7th Street from the city park to Bondwood Drive and Moorwood Lane. And so far, Wacom, and that was basically the original bid. That was what City Council approved back in June. I'm going to get into more detail in what the change order is, which is this area here, which is from Borwood Drive to Wood Lake Circle on 7th Street. But before I get there, let me tell you that Wacom LLC completed the portion that comprehend the area along the park and between the city-owned park and West Green Circle in front of the middle school on schedule by August 14, and was required by contract. And by now, we have completed all phase one, which was basically this portion of the project. And they already have been working on West Green and started construction on West Green, on 7th Street, I'm sorry, from West Green to Borwood Drive at this time, which is phase two of the project. Later in November, they are going to start on phase three, which is in Morwood Lane, and they will continue with the project. But the portion of charge order number 2 that I mentioned before, actually I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but change order number 1 was completed during phase 1 of the project. It was a no-cost change order that was for the reconstruction of the city-owned park and the city-owned park from an asphalt surface to a concrete pavement. So now again, back to change order number 2. So change order number 2 is the portion, going back to the map because it's easier to understand there, that is the area from 7th Street from Borwood to Wood Lake and a portion of Morwood Lane. Let me try to get all the information that you need because there is a lot of information related to this. So the reason why we didn't address what is considered change order number 2 back when you approved the original contract was because of the lack of funding that we have available at that time. And that's what Wacom bid this project with an alternate. And the alternate part of the bid was what was the change order number 2 that I'm presenting today. So the cost of change order number 2 is the actual bid amount for those alternate that Wacom submitted with the base bid back then. The unit prices has been evaluated by the Engineering and the Public Works Department and are considered favorable for award. And the total cost for this additional work is $529,526. And the required funds to cover this change order are recommended to be taken from CIP ST 2002, which is the payment rehabilitation. If City Council approved this project tonight, we are giving them notice to proceed on November this year, at the end of this month, November 2019, with substantial completion expected for May 2020, which is basically no change in the original schedule of the project. I need to mention that Mr. Colby Anderson, with the construction manager, is here present with Wacom LLC. I want to mention also that the staff continue to communicate with the residents. We have making them aware of all the activities that are going to and how they are going to impact them in the immediate area of 7th Street as per policy CO 110. And I would like just to put to consideration of City Council, consideration of an action authorizing the execution of change order number 2 for the construction contract with Wacom LLC in the amount of $529,516 for the additional drainage improvements and pavement replacement with incidental sidewalk reconstruction for the Covington Woods drainage improvements DR 1801 Sugar Mill Relief Line and 7th Street reconstruction project funded from CIP ST 2002 Major Street Rehabilitation. And with this, I would like to ask if you have any questions.
Okay. Alan.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just try to put it a little bit simpler.
All right. Yeah.
We bid the project. We didn't have enough money to do all of the project.
Correct.
But we got really good prices, unit prices.
Unit prices, correct.
The new budget is approved. We've got money that the council authorized to finish the project. We believe that utilizing the current bid set prices would give us the best value for our dollar and allow us to finish the project.
Correct. That would
and
be
because the
advantageous
new
to
dollars are available, we can do that. Is that?
That is correct. That's That's what
Yeah,
it
so
said.
you were answering the question I was going to ask, which is if you did unit costs, then you already.
It's already
bid the project, those were the lowest unit cost
And we have
prices
no
that we've
reason to believe
received.
that the prices would come in any better if we had to bid it again. As a matter of fact, not being able to take advantage of the contractor on the site who's
Yeah,
already
move in and
there,
move out.
it costs us more money to do it any other way.
Okay. Any other questions, Steve?
Can you go back to the disruption slide for a minute?
Yes.
It went by pretty fast. There you go. Say more about water services interruption. Is that it'll be interrupted 5 different times?
No,
Or
no.
the house will have no water for 5 days?
We have to let them know in advance. if
We
there's
usually
gonna be a
let them
water
know 5 days in advance, and usually the way we do it, we post
Okay,
it online.
that's the lead time to notify.
Lead
you.
time, correct.
So how long
That's
is
the
the long,
advance
do we expect the longest outage of water?
No more than a day, if that's the case. We
Okay.
usually,
All right, I misunderstood
We
that.
set out all the connections and everything. We just interrupt the connection to reconnect them to the new system, to the new water line, and then we'll have
Gotcha.
water immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, you want to make a motion?
Certainly, Mayor. I'd like to move to approve this item 7A. And just ask the residents in that area to be kind to our contractors and be patient with the staff as we improve their lives, but it'll be messy. Thank you.
I've got a motion by Porter, second by Lane. Your vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Item number 7B, consideration of an action on authorizing the execution of an amendment to the land lease between the City of Sugar Land and Sky Harbor Sugar Land Airport LLC to include an additional 4.041 acres at Sugar Land Regional Airport for the construction of hangars and associated improvements on Taxi Lane Charlie. We have Elizabeth Rosenbaum, Assistant Director of Aviation. Beth, how are you this morning, this evening?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Companies are recognizing the important role of Sugar Land, that Sugar Land Airport holds as a corporate aviation airport within the Houston area. The airport is an increasingly important component to economic development, not only for the City of Sugar Land, but also regionally. And there have been several inquiries from Fortune 500 companies within the last year regarding hangar availability. And this only reiterates how important the airport is to the community and the aviation industry as well. Most of you are familiar with Sky Harbor. We do have representatives here with us tonight. Sky Harbor is a hangar development firm with a history in real estate development that evolved into the aviation industry. They saw they noticed that local governments weren't focused on building hangars, and they saw an opportunity to address the undersupply of hangars. And this is mainly caused because hangars are ineligible for for federal grant funding. The next 2 slides identify where Taxi Lane Charlie is within the airfield. And then it also shows you the sites. So the current lease that they have are for sites 5 and 6. The amended lease will include sites 4 and 7. And with that, if the amended lease is approved this evening and once it's been executed, all lease sites on Taxi Lane Charlie will be leased out. This slide shows the existing terms of the lease with the amended lease for comparison. It is our standard 50 cents a square foot, which amounts to $176,988 annually in lease revenue. It is a 30-year land lease with a 10% increase every 5 years, with 5 and 6 being approximately 4 acres and 4 and 7 also being approximately 4 acres. Once this lease is approved and executed, payment on the lease for 4 and 7 will be immediate. And then the construction start date language is also similar to the existing lease. The improvements on the sites 4 and 7 will have to start 180 days after the reinstated and amended lease date, or 60 days after receiving all permitting documents. The improvements have to be completed within 360 days of the start of the construction. And then what we did add with the amended lease is that if for any reason the leasee fails to begin construction on sites 4 and 7, that the lease term would terminate automatically just for sites 4 and 7. So we have worked with Sky Harbor, and we will continue to work with Sky Harbor to develop a good partnership and to create a win-win outcome for Sky Harbor and the airport. Sky Harbor recognizes that we have the proprietary exclusive right to provide fuel on the airfield and administer the fuel pricing and discounting of fuel. The airport has received recognition throughout the aviation industry as being the #1 FBO within the Houston area. And working with Sky Harbor, the airport will be able to grow and attract new base customers. This lease, amended lease, was reviewed by the Finance Audit Committee at their September 19th meeting, and it is our recommendation that City Council approve the amended 30-year land lease with Sky Harbor. And with that, I will open that up for any clarifying questions.
Thank you, Beth. Questions? Steve?
I know you probably can't do this, but is there any way to give preference to customers with newer airplanes that aren't as loud as the older jets?
No, not with our grant assurances. We have to treat everybody equally and fairly.
We couldn't give discounts for people that have brand new jets that aren't very loud? Okay, well, it was an idea.
I'll make a motion to approve. Got a motion, I made it, Kermali's got the second. Vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Item number 8, ordinances and resolutions. 8A, first consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2179, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, approving the grant of an easement for drainage purposes to Fort Bend County Levee Improvement District number 7, out of the city's approximate 63-acre tract of land designated for future development as part of the Brazos River Park, directing the city manager to execute the easement in the form attached as Exhibit A, finding that the easement will improve drainage and erosion control for and will benefit future development of the approximate 63-acre tract for park and recreational purposes, and setting forth other provisions related thereto. This is written by an engineer. Tim John, our Assistant City Engineer. Tim.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Yes, we're seeking your approval this evening for ordinance number 2179. It's related to dedication of a drainage easement for or to Levee Improvement District number 7. So a little bit of project background. I will have a map to show you this, but Fort Bend County Lid 7, there's a tributary to the Brazos River. It's loosely known as Alcorn Bayou. The project itself is referenced through the LID project as called the external channel. So the write-up in your agenda may have mentioned external channel, but it's the same thing. The channel itself has experienced significant flood damage, particularly from Harvey and other rain events. It does pose a risk to the levee, which is north of the channel, which protects Fort Bend County Lid 7 and the new territory residents, and it's also impacting the undeveloped Brazos River parkland property that's south of the channel. I'll explain where that is in a moment. Fort Bend County Lid 7 actually went forward and received funding post-Hurricane Harvey, a $3 million grant from the Natural Resource Conservation Service Emergency Watershed Protection Program. So that has been approved. They are actually under a tight schedule to get this going, the project. So this is a critical for the project. This is a map that depicts the location of the project we're talking about. Area shaded in green is the actual considered the Fort Bend County lid boundary. The Alcorn Bayou is what's shown here in blue that is part of the project location is here. And then this dark green is the actual Fort Bend County lid berm. So that is the area that actually protects the residents of New Territory in this area. And as a further detailed map, this actually shows the proposed location of the drainage easement. It is needed because, and I'll have a further slide on this, but on either side of this easement, just to kind of walk you through the ownership of the property, the Alcorn Bayou area is actually owned by Fort Bend County Lid 7. This is the city's west wastewater treatment plant owned by the City of Sugar Land. This area to the south here is undeveloped Brazos River Corridor parkland currently owned by the City of Sugar Land. And then on the north side is undeveloped New Territory Residential Community Association parkland. So this whole corridor is actually part of a future but not yet developed parkland property. And the easement that is needed is a nominal 70-foot wide easement that is used for drainage purposes. And this kind of shows the proposed channel improvements, a description. It's about 1,800 feet. It will be in-stream structures, improve hydraulic functions, et cetera. It's going to reconfigure the channel. The attempt is to dissipate energy. These are all engineering terms. We want to move a portion of the channel itself, slightly move it away from the levee side, and then we plan to flatten the slopes from a nominal 3-to-1 to a 4-to-1 to allow less erosion of the project. So the recommendation of the ordinance 2179, as I mentioned, is improvements both for the city residents. It's for the protection of the levee, but it's also to further protect further erosion of the undeveloped parkland property. We also went to the intergovernmental committee and they recommended this in September. It was a recommendation to go forward for council. And the 1.88 acres is needed, as I mentioned, along the southern boundary of the Lid 7 property, and it will be restricted by the Lid just for drainage use. So the recommendation is to approve the first reading of ordinance 2179, approving the grant of an easement for drainage purposes to Fort Bend County Lid number 7. And I can answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Tim. Questions? Steve?
Thanks, Mayor. Tim, one of the items on the list was habitat improvement. Can you say more about that?
That's really more of the specific related to the design. It's a new way of designing channels to encourage growth of the natural phenomena, the habitat, to try to use natural grasses, things in the area that might help improve the erosion, to give it more of a look that's natural to the area. And so the habitat in that case is really more of a flora-fauna habitat. Yeah, we're not turning this into anything that's going to be a show.
Anyone else? Stuart?
The Intergovernmental Relations Committee, on which Councilmember Lane and I serve, we reviewed this and we're very much in favor. So I'd make a motion if it's appropriate.
Okay. Got a motion by Jacobson. Do I have a second? I've got a second by Lane. If you vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. At this time, we're going to have a brief recess. Let's take 10 minutes, and then we'll reconvene at 7:25. We're going to go ahead and reconvene at 7:25. We're going to move to item number 9, public hearings, 9A. Public hearing. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed rezoning from interim neighborhood business, B1I, to interim general business, B2I, district to permanent neighborhood business, B1, or business office, BO, for non-residential areas of the Greatwood community, located 1 along US Highway 59 east of Greatwood Parkway, 2 along the west side of Greatwood Parkway, 3 at the southeast corner of Greatwood Parkway and River Brook Drive, approximately 21 acres in total. We have Myra Hernandez, our senior planner. Myra.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Before you is the permanent zoning for 3 main non-residential areas in Greatwood. So as everybody's aware, Greatwood was annexed in December of 2017. 3 phases of this rezoning have been completed. This is the 4th, and we're actually working on the 5th. So this does consist of 21 acres, 3 main areas that I will go into detail in the following slides. The first area here is off of US Highway 59, and it's 3 separate buildings. The one located here is a 3-story building that has a bank attached to it. The middle building here is a 2-story building that has retail services and neighborhood services, and the other building on the opposite side is a 2-story building that consists of offices. Area 2 is off of US Highway 59 in Greatwood Parkway, west side of Greatwood Parkway, and it consists of the development of the office condos at Greatwood, also the 1 retail center that has some restaurants, a daycare site at the back, and also the Houston Association of Realtors building that's located here. On the opposite side of the street of Greatwood Parkway, we have Area 3 along Riverbrook Drive, and it has 3 buildings here. One's a daycare site. This building here has some offices and some other services, and then we have 1 little building here as well. So we did utilize the future land use plan that is part of the land use plan to do our analysis and our recommendation. The proposed permanent zoning will replace the temporary commercial zoning districts that those properties have now. So these commercial properties were part of the limited purpose annexation that took place before they were permanently and fully annexed into the city. The current zonings for those properties, I'll go back to the maps. Here, these properties here are currently zoned B2 interim, which is our general business zoning district. We are proposing business office for the 2 end cap parcels in B1, which is our neighborhood business for the middle parcel. For Area 2, it is currently zoned B1 interim as well as Area 3, and we are proposing to keep that same zoning district by making it permanent. So what this permanent zoning will do, it will formalize the property owner's development rights. It will also not change any of the existing development that's already there. It will not impact any of the deed restrictions, private deed restrictions. And again, our proposed zoning districts are based on the future land use plan and the city staff trying to closely match what's already developed with the zoning districts that we have in place in putting those that best correspond to the existing development. So a little bit more about our neighborhood business 1 zoning district. It is meant to be for neighborhood services, so small scale, limited retail businesses, basically those that are compatible with our neighborhoods. We don't allow any outside display. In the B1, we have maximum square footages to keep those uses small. And all the current land uses will be legally non-conforming. The daycare sites, legally conforming. And the daycare sites that are greater than 15,000 square feet will require a conditional use permit. So any of those 2 daycare sites that want to expand in the future will have to go through that process. The business office district, the BO, it's mainly for office uses. It's more limited in the land uses that are permitted within that zoning district. We don't allow any outside storage. And the 2 properties that we're proposing to zone to BO are currently operating as offices and, like I mentioned, a bank that's located there. So any banks or financial institutions with drive-thrus will require a conditional use permit in the future. So the current bank that's there can remain as is. Any changes in the future, we'll have to go through the conditional use permit for that. So the Planning and Zoning Commission did held a public hearing on July 25th. We did not have any members at the public hearing. We did receive a email inquiry that was attached to the staff report from one of the owners of the daycare site on Area 3. So that's the area that's off of Riverbrook and Greatwood Parkway. And then on August 13th, the commission took consideration and action and recommended approval of the permanent zoning as staff presented it. So some photographs of Area 1. Again, this is US Highway 59. So we have this 3-story building that's located here in this parcel. The B1 site is this 2-story building that we have here in the picture. You have the Shipleys located there. And then this other parcel, we have a 2-story office building. So for Area 2 off of Greatwood Parkway, we have, again, the office condos development and then some photographs of the Area 2 were not included. Apologize for that. Area 3 includes the daycare site, which is the inquiry that we received for this daycare here that's at this corner. And then some other buildings that are located within Area 3. So some points for your consideration tonight. Greatwood is for the permanent zoning, these are non-residential areas. A lot of it is already developed. Limited annex in 2008, and it was fully annexed in 2017. The proposed B1 and BO zoning districts are intended to match what's already developed. The proposed zoning districts are based on, again, the future land use plan and the future land use map in our field investigation with the of the on-site characteristics of each property. And the proposal is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. So we have met all the requirements of the public hearing tonight. All the property owners within 200 feet, so any adjacent owner within 200 feet was notified. All the commercial or non-residential property owners were also notified, and we also went a step further and included a detailed letter with the public hearing notice explaining what this zoning means for their property and as an adjacent neighbor. We notified the HOA as well as the POA, and we have not received any inquiries for this public hearing aside from the one email inquiry that we received at the time of the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. So staff's recommendation is that the City Council hold the public hearing for the approve the first reading of Ordinance 2182 for the permanent zoning of 3 areas in Greatwood for non-neighborhood business B1 or business office BO zoning district, approximately 21 acres. So the next steps will be to hold the public hearing followed by first reading of the ordinance, and then we anticipate second reading at a future meeting. And I'll be happy to take any clarifying questions for staff after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for anybody that wants to comment on this particular agenda item. Second call. We're going to close the public hearing. We're going to move to the action item. First consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance number 2182, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, providing for a change of zoning of approximately 21 acres from interim neighborhood business or interim general business district to permanent neighborhood business B1 or business office BO zoning districts for commercially developed areas in the Greatwood community located along Highway 59 east of Greatwood Parkway, along west side of Greatwood Parkway, and at the southeast corner of Greatwood Parkway and Riverbrook Drive. Do you have any questions of staff? Anyone? Jennifer?
So on the business offices and the daycares, they will have to require a condition use permit. When would they need to do that, and what would be the cost associated with that? Do you know?
So for daycares, in the event that they want to expand their existing facility, then they will have to go through that process, but they don't need to do anything now if they're not doing any improvements.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion? Yes. Carol?
Taking the extra step of sending out the detailed letter along with the public hearing. I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second? Got a second by Porter. You vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, Myra. Here we go. All right, item number 10, appointments. We're going to go through this pretty quick. 10A, consideration of an action on appointment of 9 members to the Animal Advisory Board for terms expiring September 30th, 2020, and appointment of a chair for a term expiring September 30th, 2020. All right, here we have, for the 9 members, we got Dr. James Cox, Suzanne Wegge, Barbara Willey, John Neiman, Ellen Tarver, Robin Novak, Susan Chapman, Susie Hyde, and Marianne Nixon. And those expire September 30th of 2020. For the chair, Dr. James Cox will be the chair. His term will expire September 30th, 2020. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? Second. I've got a second by Carol. Vote this time, please. Passes 7-0. Item 10B, consideration of an action on the appointment of 7 members to the Building Standards Commission for terms expiring September 30th, 2020, 3 alternate members for terms expiring September 30th, 2020, and appointment of a chair and vice chair for terms expiring September 30th, 2020. The 7 members, Kelly Kinake, Ann Magoon, Alyssa Gomez, Mumtaz Qureshi, Ravi Arora, Lana Goldberg, and Malvern Lusky. Those are reappointing the 7 members. 3 alternate members, and those terms for the 7 members expire September 30th of 2020. 3 alternate members for terms expiring the same period, September 30th, 2020. Dongmei Chu, Avinash Rahakar, and Savaraha Pothi. Appoint a chair and a vice chair. For the chair, Kelly Kinake will be the chair. Ann Magoon will be the vice chair. And those terms will expire September 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? Second. I've got a second by Stewart. Vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Item number 10C, consideration of an action on the appointment of 9 members to the Parks, Art, Recreation, Culture, and Streetscapes, the Parks Board, for terms expiring September 30th of 2020, and a chair for a term expiring September 30th of 2020. For the Parks Board, the 9 members are as follow, with a term to expire September 30th of 2020. Barbara Brescian, Ho-Jin Lim, Kelly Reynolds, Heather Guillen, Kelsey Lowe, Andy Fahn, Tracy Pipes, Joan Maresh Hansen, and Kelly Johnson. Kelsey Johnson is the new member. For the chair, Barbara Brescian will be the chair. Ho-Jin Lim will be the vice chair. And all those terms will expire September the 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Carol, thank you. Motion second. If you vote at this time, please. Passes 7-0. 10D, consideration of and action on appointment of 4 members to the Planning and Zoning Commission for terms expiring September 30th of 2021, and appointment of a chair and vice chair for terms expiring September 30th of 2020. For the Planning and Zoning Commission, The four members for the terms expiring September 30th of 2021, we have Kathy Hebner, Carl Stevens, Dan Simeon, and Jay Canine. The chair is going to be Kathy Hebner. The vice chair will be Carl Stevens. Those terms will expire September 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a second by Naushad. Vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you. 10E, consideration of an action on the appointment of 3 members to the Sugar Land 4B Corporation for a term expiring September 30th of 2021, and appointment of 1 member to fill an unexpired term ending September 30th of 2020. For the 4B, the 3 members, Carol McCutcheon, Naushad Kermali, and Billy Atkinson. Billy's a new member. Those terms expire September 30th of 2021. To fill the unexpired term ending September 30th of 2020, Amy Sewell, and that term will expire September 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Got a motion second by Carol. Vote at this time, please. 7-0 vote. 10F, consideration of an action on appointment of 2 members and 2 alternates to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for terms expiring September 30th of 2021, appointment of 1 member to an unexpired term ending September 30th of 2020, and appointment of a chair and vice chair for terms expiring September 30th of 2020. For the Zoning Board of Adjustment, 2 members and 2 alternates. The members are Josh LaRocca and Herbert Schwab. The 2 alternates, Josh Morton and Jan Peterson. Those terms will expire September 30th of 2021. We're going to appoint 1 member to the unexpired term ending September 30th of 2020. That will be Chuck Brown. The chair will be Josh LaRocca. The vice chair will be Herbert Schwab. I'll make the motion. Second. I've got Lane as a second. Vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Item number 10G, consideration of an action on appointment of 5 members to the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation for terms expiring September 30th of 2021, and appointment of a board president for a term expiring September 30th of 2020. This is for the Legacy Foundation. 5 members with terms expiring September of 2021. We have Gene Reed, John Null, Betty Baitland, Susan Chapman, and Gary Becker. Susan and Gary are new members. Those terms expire September of 2021, September 30th of 2021. The president is going to be Sonny Sharma. His term will expire September 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I thought they had Dee Cook in there as well on their presentation.
Yeah, she's a member.
I didn't hear her name.
She's probably in a different cycle.
She's in a different term.
She's in a different term. Yeah, she's in a different term. So I've got, did I have a second? Carol, was that you?
Second.
Carol? Okay. Got a motion, got a second. If you vote at this time, please. Passes 7-0. Item number 10H, consideration of an action on the appointment of 2 members and 1 alternate to the Independent Ethics Review Board for terms ending September 30th of 2022, appointment of 1 alternate member to an unexpired term ending September 30th of 2020, and appointment of a chair to a term expiring September 30th of 2020. The 2 members and the 1 alternate, the 2 members are Amy Bergman and Rachel Varghese. The alternate is Fred Kellerman. Those terms expire September 30th of 2022. The alternate member is Barbara Lacar. Her term expires September 30th of 2020. The chair will be Corinth Davis. His term will expire September 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? Second. I've got Porter as a second. You'll vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Item number 11, City Council, City Manager reports. 11A, City Council Member reports. Stuart, let's start with you.
Mayor, it'd be easier to go over what I haven't done, but Sunday before last, I attended the Old Mill Park Neighborhood Dinner, which was a continuation of National Night Out. Let's see, I went last week to the TML, Texas Municipal League. Let's see, I went to the District 1 Town Hall to watch Councilmember Porter present an beautifully handled and ably done town hall meeting. I went to, I already said Texas Municipal League. Oh, I went to the PD Beat Accountability meeting. I went to the Public Safety Extravaganza on Saturday. I went to the Cullinan Park ribbon cutting on yesterday, Monday, and last night I attended the Chimney Stone HOA meeting.
Sharon's going to be calling me because you're not home anymore.
Sharon is delighted, Mayor.
Commissioner.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to follow that one, Mayor. But one item of note, and if you heard the presentation from the Legacy Foundation, there was a dedication to Herb Apple. And for those who may not have known Herb, he was essentially the founder of the Fort Bend Economic Development Council here, and has done a lot of missionary, a lot of community events. Just a very impactful person to this community. We would look very different without him, and just an excellent man. And what they've done is, if you go next to, I believe, Veritas, the restaurant, you'll see a bronze statue of him looking towards the floor building where the EDC's office is. I'd encourage you to see that. It's just spectacular, the rendering they did. But I thought it was very tastefully done for a great person. That's all I got, Mayor.
Carol.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a quarterly CIP update, and then the District 4 Town Hall was well attended, and I'd like to thank staff for their support of that. And in a note, National Night Out was great, as always, and I had my first National Night Out party the Sunday before National Night Out, and then the last one was the Saturday after National Night Out, where our city manager was recognized by Brazos Lingendy. And attended the Sugar Cube reveal also, and the Marriott's 16th birthday party before that, and attended the Parks Youth Ranch fundraiser, the State of the Schools luncheon, of course TML, of course, and the Public Safety Extravaganza was great. I was one of the MCs at the Dragon Boat Regatta, and of course the Culligan Park ribbon cutting, Sugarland 4B, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Jennifer.
Well, I attended some of those things that had been mentioned, but the most interesting thing I did was I did a hike on the Brazos River, starting at Brazos River Park. I went under the river bridge, and I saw the effects of the mighty Brazos River on what it did with the turnaround, which was very fantastic. And I walked almost to Sartarsha and viewed all the trails. Met a lot of folks on bikes, and had a really nice time.
Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to things that have mentioned, I do want to also thank staff for the support for Town Hall, especially owing to the fact that that evening was an Astros playoff game. So thank you for the sacrifice there. Sugar Lake's HOA meeting, which was basically they were curious about our GO bond upcoming election, and Doug did a great job answering their questions. And I attended the Sugar Cube Block Party trailer unveiling, which was mighty interesting. I hope people take advantage of that, because that's a kind of a great idea that somebody came up with, and the execution was well done.
Thanks, Steve. O'Shea.
Attended a lot of things that several have said, but a couple that have not been said is the prayer vigil that happened here for Officer Sandeep Dalawal. Had the opportunity to speak to a nice crowd that was here, and Nancy was also there representing the city, and was able to meet the parents of and the family of. It was a really sad situation there. Attended a couple of Skeeters baseball game with staff, game 4 and 5, and Mary, you were there for game 5. That was a pretty sad game. hopefully we we won 4-1 tonight, by the way. The Astros are up 2-1 in the series against New York, staying on baseball. I also want to thank the chief. He invited us to come sit in on the monthly police beat report, accountability meet, which was really nice to meet all of those individuals there, and had a good rapport there. Last Thursday, while most of you all were at the TML, I attended the Huffington Awards, where Princess Zahra Aga Khan was given a proclamation from our city, as well as winning the Huffington Award, an award that's very prestigious, and someone like President George Bush has also received it too. So it was very nice to be there on behalf of the city. And then this past weekend was a Diwali festival at West Oaks Mall, which I attended, and the Aga Khan Foundation Walk, which was this past Sunday in Houston. And I attended the other stuff that everyone else has already mentioned.
I'm going to give out a shout out to 3 members of staff, Jennifer May, and then I have now named them Elizabeth Squared. So we have Elizabeth Rosenbaum and Elizabeth Huff. Y'all did a great job on pulling that thing back together with the airport. Things almost went sideways. Managed to get pulled back together, and I appreciate that. And then Cindy D. Cindy, I've never been able to go through it as fast as I was tonight. That was so organized that I could read right off of it. We blew through those appointments, and it couldn't have been better. So thank you for that organization. Alan, City Manager report.
Yes, sir. A couple of quick announcements. We're proud to partner with the Skeeters for this year's annual Halloween Town event. It's presented by Imperial Sugar. The event was previously held at Sugarland Town Square and will now be hosted at Constellation Field on October 26th between 4 and 8 p.m. Sugarland residents may request free tickets for the event. They're in limited supply. Residents should present their water bill at Constellation Field office. And then secondly, Mayor, the City Council has been working so hard and so effectively that we're able to cancel the workshop on October the 22nd because we're running low on work for you to do. We'll see if we can't restock again by your next meeting on November 5th. Thank you, Mayor.
Staff's going to miss us. I know y'all are going to miss. Y'all can go ahead and come here. We'll turn the lights on. Y'all can sit out there.
Not coming.
Yeah. Motion adjourned.
That was a good meeting, Mayor.
That's pretty quick, man. We blew through that.